southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's going on, guys? Tristan and Tony here with the Zero Duck 30 podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in for another week. On today's podcast, we're having Jared, and tell me if I got it wrong. How do you say? I'm not even going to attempt it. How do you say your last name, bro?
I was like, is he really going to try?
Yeah. What's your last name?
It's Serigne. Jared Serigne.
Serigne, okay. And you guys may have seen outside the Levees. I actually know there's a few followers that came over from Jared because the first time me and Jared talked, he has the White Cup Chronicles on his YouTube, and he does a live video pretty frequently. And I went over there to talk about TikTok banning me, but I know a couple of my followers came over from Jared too, so they'll probably get a kick out of you coming on, Jared.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, but we're excited to have Jared on today. He's got an awesome YouTube channel and does a lot of different stuff, not just duck hunting. I mean, he shoots nutrias and redfish and you name it down there in the Louisiana swamp. So, but Jared, why don't you kind of give people your background and kind of why you got into YouTube and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, man, no problem. So I do live in South Louisiana. I'm from St. Bernard Parish. We are a neighbor to New Orleans. So I live about 20 minutes from downtown New Orleans. It's very much a fishing community. A lot of commercial fishing goes on here. Oysters are a big industry here. Blue crabs are a big industry. Shrimp, not as good as it used to be. The price of shrimp's kind of terrible now, but still a lot of people who come from a shrimping background here. And then really good sport fishing too. So we are very much a coastal community here in St. Bernard, and that's where my roots lie. Katrina really sent me away, but then kind of reinvigorated why I love this place. And when I came back from a little bit of traveling after Katrina, I doubled down and committed to be here and committed to, I knew I wanted to be in filmmaking and video to some aspect. And I just doubled down on how I could tell stories about where I live. And that's what led me to making videos about the outdoors and about conservation, about the wetlands. Moved on to some TV production, produced a cable show, Louisiana Sportsman Television it was called. My host was Greg Hackney.
Oh, wow.
Big bass fisherman. And I did that for 7-8 years and decided it was time to do my own thing and started Outside the Levees on YouTube. And not too long after that, my wife kind of was showing me this thing called TikTok, and I said, "Man, it's just people dancing. What do you want me to do? I wear camo. I have a beard. Nobody's gonna watch me dance, even though I'm a pretty damn good dancer." But it didn't take long to find people like you who were doing good outdoor content. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a little, So I kind of have fun on TikTok and make YouTube and. As of last month, I'm a full-time content creator. So
wow, congrats, dude.
We eating on this now,
That is so awesome. Congrats, bro. That's really neat.
That is. Congratulations.
And I didn't know the film background with Louisiana Sportsman TV, or I think it's what you called it.
Yeah.
But that's really neat. It makes sense because I was thinking. I actually went back and watched the camp when you guys went to that camp in Louisiana. That was kind of like a 22-mile boat ride or whatever.
Yes, that is one of my favorite ones that I ever did.
Man.
Like top 3 favorite ones. And maybe the internet didn't agree, but for me, that was one of my favorites. So I'm glad you watched that one.
Well, I loved it, man. I think when Sean Weaver was on here, he also has a film producing background before Meat Eater. And his thing was like understanding the arc of storytelling, and like we're always trying to learn, man. We're just we're only 3 years into this, but watching a guy like what you do a great job of the storytelling and getting people involved. Like what was Goat Vernon, was that his name?
Yeah, Goat, man. I love Goat. Everybody down here's got a nickname.
Yeah,
they got so many nicknames that like. You'll know somebody most of your life and you don't know their real name.
That's so awesome.
There's people that I'm like, and like I'll kind of like when it's time to say their real name, I'll just mumble it. I'll be like, T-Boy, like, because I'm scared, because I'm not sure that's the real name.
Yeah.
But I know the nickname,
You'd be at the bar on the coast and you'd be like, yo, what up, Gator Tail? And about 8 people turn around and be like,
Right.
what up?
Like, even Goat, the guy in the video, I'm trying to think of his real name. I believe it's Greg, but like, why would I take a chance and get it wrong when I could just call him Goat? You know?
That's great.
That's awesome, man. That's definitely I'm sure it's a Louisiana thing, but I think it's definitely a good old boy Southern thing for sure too.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, man, you cover a lot of different stuff, and I know, like, was it the Nutria video that you had that got like really blew up in the last like 6 months?
It was. Yeah, it was. So I've had my first video that did well, I wouldn't say blew up, was it was right towards the end of duck season, and I did a hunt/sit down with a guy who's in his 80s, who's kind of seeing all of it from our perspective. And the title of the video is duck hunting changing for the worse. And if you know anything about creating YouTube videos, you have to have a catchy title and thumbnail. And that one did pretty well because it was right at the end of duck season, and people were kind of like maybe not so happy with the way their season went. I think it resonated with people. And then the next one I had that did really well was with this old school crappie fisherman who like doesn't use electronics, fishes 4 days a week, the same technique every day, 4 days a week. He's doing 1 or 2 ways of catching them, and that's it. So he's like literally got it mastered, and I think people just enjoyed seeing his take on it and seeing that old school. And then the next one that I would say did blow up was commercial catfishing, where a guy runs hoop nets. He caught like 4,000 pounds of catfish that day.
Wow.
And that blew up. That blew up, and it coincided with another one that was a commercial crabbing video. And then I was on like a terrible dry streak. Like, for me, it was bad. Like, if you're not breaking 10,000 views at my size, that's not good, And then finally, we're on a rabbit hunt. It's cold. This is like one of the last days of January. We're, in a place that used to have a lot of rabbits. It's like, I don't know, 10 a.m. or something, and we got one rabbit down. I'm like, dude, let's go. So me and my buddy go. We get in a boat and like, look, let's just go, because we knew there was nutria. I was like, a nutria is so for people who don't know what nutria is, it's a large. It looks like a giant rat. It's I don't know, like, it's in the rodent family, but like I don't know how closely it is related to like a New York City rat. But it looks like a giant rat. Yeah. But you can eat them, right? But people don't. They freak out when you say that. But we know that, so it's not a big deal to us. So it's like, look, let's just go shoot some nutria. We know they're going to be there. We go. It took us, maybe an hour to shoot the nutria that we shot. You shoot them from a boat because they're an invasive species, right? So there's no real laws on like how you can hunt them and what you can and can't do. So you could like literally chase them with the boat until you're at point blank and shoot them. So we did that. Yeah, so we shoot them like that, get them in the boat. Then we go to the camp. I make a gumbo with them. Once again, to me, all of this stuff is fairly mundane. Like, I think, like, I get it, but at the same time, I was like, okay, so I got a video. I'm good. I put it out, and it just starts hopping. I'm like, oh, here we go. Finally got a hit on my hands. But I had never had something break. I think at that point, the other one was maybe hovering somewhere around 200,000 views, So, like, that's the biggest I had ever done. Well, it did that in, like, 2 weeks. It hit 200,000. And then it just kept going and going and going. Before I know it, it hit 1 million. I'm like, whoa. And so, yeah, and then what happens, that's like, the rising tide lifts all ships. So, like, that, that big surge had a surge throughout the whole channel. So a lot of the other videos got views as well. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe it's, I'm getting some progress here. I'm almost 2 years in, and that kind of all led to me now being able to go full time with it.
That's awesome stuff, man. And what do you think, like, one thing we noticed with our content, and like, obviously just having duck hunting videos, like we have a couple deer hunting videos, but it seems like, we had this lull from February. I get it's not duck season, but from February to really now, there was a lull, and now like our teal video we posted last year is getting, like, for us it's pretty good. It's getting like 40-50 views a day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Do you think, like, what it's so hard for people that don't understand the YouTube, and I'm so curious about it, like how it, like, the algorithm works and stuff, but like, do you have any sort of like strategy to it, or you just kind of put the stuff
out? I mean, I am about as analytical as it's gonna get for someone who does this. I've talked to a lot of people who really just kind of shrug off the analytics and say, well, you just keep putting them out and something will eventually do well. And to some extent that's true, but I'm trying to learn this and trying to make this a career. I will say this, I think Deer Meat for Dinner, he's a big YouTube guy, 3 million subscribers. He started this whole genre that I'm in called catch and cook. They call it catch, clean, cook.
Okay.
So the idea of what we're trying to do is we take you through, the beginning, the middle, the end of harvesting whatever it is, catching whatever it is, and to the point where it's on your plate and you're eating it. So he started that. And what he does, he's every episode he does, every video he does is different from the previous one. So I was like, okay, cool, I want to do that. And slowly I'm learning that at my size, you kind of have to be a little bit more careful about the species you choose. So as much as I love duck hunting, I probably don't have any business making duck hunting videos because it's not the audience, the duck hunting viewing audience on YouTube is probably smaller than we realize. And there's so many guys producing that type of content now. So what happens is not only is it regionally focused, so I'm doing Louisiana duck hunts, so I'm drawing in Louisiana guys, but I also have to compete with the other Louisiana duck hunt guys. If you're an East Coast guy, you still get, you see what I'm saying? So it's such a tiny audience, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's probably best if I leave something like duck hunting alone and focus on what's worked well for me, which has been nutria, catfish, crabs, shrimp, stuff that's kind of, I guess, more widely people have an interest in.
For sure.
Well, that, and then, the fact that you're in Louisiana, you're right. I mean, you're touching on several different people there. You're grabbing a fisherman, a hunter. It's kind of cross-referencing people, so to speak, and as far as the demographics go. And I think that's awesome because you're just kind of following the strongest wind, so to speak.
Correct. You have to. And I'm learning that the hard way. I keep trying to beat it and it's not working. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I keep trying to be like Deer Meat Dinner, and because that guy does it all, and that's the guy who, like I said, I mean that I love his channel. I love what he does. He started the whole thing, but you have to take what they're giving you,
Yep.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, man. And duck hunters, it's if you want to look at kind of scale it by how many duck stamps are sold, I think it's around 1 million right now. And it's think about 420 million people in the United States, and hunters are a small demographic compared to that.
Correct.
And then duck hunters are even more niche,
Correct.
So you're definitely playing a little bit of a numbers games with that. And me and my dad are big deer hunters originally, and I don't know if I ever told you, Jared, but my grandma actually was the first man or woman to shoot 3 non-typicals with a bow that made Pope and Young.
What?
Yeah, so she and we're gonna get her on the podcast at some point because we just want to get her story out there, man. But
yeah, she was on the front page of Buckmasters magazine, August 1990 issue, America's Best Lady Bow Hunter.
Yep.
Randy's a baddie, huh?
Yeah,
She's laying them down, boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She cooked too?
And here's the thing, dude. She was afraid of heights, never sat over 8 feet high, and shot all fingers. And her 17-pointer shot at 7.5 yards. So anyway, we'll get into that. We'll dig into that one sometime.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's why I want to make a YouTube video.
Right? I know.
Let's get Granny out there one last time, boy.
I know, right?
I wish, man, but we coming from that deer hunting, it's in our blood kind of background, and duck hunting's the last 7 years or so, but we have 0 buck 32, but we're not as active on it. But actually on our YouTube, we're posting both. So as we get bigger and have more time and resources, the goal is to kind of get to other stuff,
Well,
Yeah.
Well, we got some things in the works for 0 buck 30 this year. I know Drew's going to be going on an elk hunt. It's going to be self-filming, so it's going to be, if you've ever seen Survivor, man, it's going to be kind of like that. But he'll have doing what he can until he gets loses his shit when he gets bugled at and then drops camera. And that'll be all right. But we got that, and we got some other things in the works that we're excited about with that. But As waterfowlers, we experience all kinds of extreme weather conditions. Stay bone dry and warm with Frog Togs hunting gear. You can check them out at frogtogs.com or at frogtogshunt on Instagram.
Yeah, man. And you were talking about cooking earlier with the nutria and all that, and I wanted to get into some of that because you really, I kind of have a low-key passion for cooking wild game, like I would call it like, compared to like guys like you and the guy you mentioned before and some of our friends and stuff, they're just people that can do it so good, man. And I'm just like over here cooking my deer steaks, you know. But waterfowl is something that I've really had a hard time with getting good at cooking. Like one time I'll cook it great, next time it sucks. And that Gadwall video, I know it was your buddy that cooked it up, man. But kind of talk about your knowledge of like waterfowl cooking in particular, and like what you suggest on that.
I think people are trying to do too much when they cook ducks. I think that, you know, there's really only, I don't know, I'll say there's really only two ways to cook duck. And one is like your ribeye steak, you season it with heavy, you know, salt, some pepper, cook it over a fire. And once you get it off the fire, you can do whatever you want with it. You can cut it up and put it into a fajita. You can, you know, cut it up, put some cheese it over, and make like a, you know, Philly cheesesteak type thing. But you get what I'm saying. Like, as long as you're using that basic concept and you're cooking it medium rare, you know, that's one. And then the other one that I would do is deep fry. And there, it's kind of the same thing, right? So like you bread it, you deep fry it, you pull it out, you can roll it in pepper jelly, you know, put it on a sandwich. You could, you see what I'm saying? Or roll it in buffalo sauce and dip it in ranch, you know, whatever it is. So, you know, I feel like if you just kind of keep it simple and do that with it. Now that, and let me step back just for a second. That's speaking of just duck breast. Now, if you're talking about whole duck, of course, there's like the classic pot roast duck. I don't think that's a good way to cook duck. And I know people are going to disagree with that and come at me, oh, and that's the way we've always, that's fine. But like you've taken a meat that's like a red meat and cooked way past the point that it needs to be by roasting it for hours in a pot, you know, and then serving it over rice. Like that's the most boring, like, I don't know. I think, you know, and then also I think people just don't respect the meat for what it is. Like, you got to treat it like red meat, you know? So that's why I was saying, like, really just try to cook it medium rare. Like, another way to do it, too, if you're really into whole plucked duck, is to pluck it whole, spatchcock it, and then still do over the fire, you know? So then I save my legs. So the way I do it is I pull the breast out, I pull organs out, feed that to the dogs. I don't eat that crap. I don't care what everybody says. You can eat all the liver you want. Don't, you know, like I'm not pretending like I like liver just so people think I'm cool. I don't like it. And then pull the legs out, and then you can kind of do the same thing with the legs. Legs can be medium rare. You know, I will slow cook legs more so than I would like slow cook duck breast. It's just a little bit different, I guess, quality of meat. So, but yeah, I just think people try to treat it like restaurant duck, or try to slow cook it, and just, just put some salt and some pepper, a lot of salt, some pepper, cook it over fire, and then just eat it. Like, it's overthinking it, you know. Make a sauce to make a fruit chutney to put on top of it after you do that, if you want to get fancy. But leave the meat as, you know, as something simple.
Right. That's great. Less is more is the lesson here. Jared, let me ask you this. And this is just, I was just kind of just drew these two together maybe. It almost, to me, cooking legs is very similar to cooking squirrel. What do you think about that? I mean, it seemed like
no, because I've had them straight off the grill, medium rare, and they're okay like that.
Okay, all right.
You know, sometimes they can get a little chewy, but you know, I think they're either or.
Yeah, they just cook quicker than the breast are going to, obviously.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, like if you marinate them and then cook them on high heat, you know, I feel like they're edible like that.
Nice.
What do you think about, so one time I cooked a pintail and a ringneck at the same time, the exact same recipe, and they tasted the exact same. Did the same recipe with another ringneck, and it tasted like shit. So, is there some truth to the diet thing, or do you think I just screwed it up?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to the diet thing, and like you'll see ringnecks with mallards a lot of times. So like that duck could probably, you could have a large variance in how that duck tastes. You know, yeah, diet does have a lot to do. Like our gadwall, they taste like mud because
Oh
they're
no.
digging through mud to get to snails.
Yeah.
You know.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it definitely has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and I think over in Florida, the main diet over there is like hydrilla. That's where you're gonna find the ringnecks and teal and stuff. But I don't know if maybe I just caught some that were eating something different, but that wasn't a plant. I don't know. But
Yeah.
No, it tastes like it straight up ate a rotten frog, dude. But I'll say this while we're on this, and maybe Jared's got something for this because he's a coastal guy. So we went buffalo head hunting, and we got done, and I'm just going to be straight up honest with you guys, boo me or not, but we got up, and me and Tristan and Drew sitting there, and Drew goes, well, y'all going to take yours? And I go, do you want them? And he's like, well, yeah, shit, I'll take them. And I go, all right, go ahead, take them. I turn around to Tristan, and I go, dude, those son of bitches stunk bad, dude. I mean, bad.
They were smelly.
Ooh, dude, they were stinky little bastards. You know?
Yeah.
And but I'll tell you what.
Where was that?
It was on the coast of like the Gulf
Panhandle.
in the Panhandle.
Florida.
Yeah.
Huh.
And but check this out. Same area. Friends of ours shoot buffalo heads. Drew was there actually. His wife, Charlemagne, makes us this.
So she aged the duck for 3 weeks. They always hang them for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And she made like a grilled cheese with this medium rare duck, and then like cantaloupe, and then grilled cheese. And it
Toast.
Yeah, it was so good.
Bro, I'm telling you what.
You would think cantaloupe and duck and cheese would be gross,
But that's kind of what I said earlier. Like, the fruit chutney, like that all, is medium rare, right? A little fruit for a sweet. So,
yeah,
I believe it.
It was a
What
good.
cheese did she use? Do you remember?
Oh,
I think like brie or something like that.
I was
Like a white cheese.
Does what's that one like Guyre, something like that? Not Gouda.
Oh,
Guyre, something like that.
Goyer, I think.
Gruyere. Maybe that seems right. Maybe.
Yeah, it was a white cheese though, right?
Maybe I can't remember. Was it white?
Man, I can't remember for sure. I just ate the shit out of that thing, dude.
I'll ask her and text you.
And Mario just kept doing, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? And I'm like, I think it's freaking outstanding.
Yeah,
I couldn't
dude,
believe it.
hey, one of them chefs are gonna listen to this and be like, "That's not what it's called."
We used American cheese.
Yeah, dude, we wearing the chefs out because you get on that, that's part of my deal, right? Like I'll show the ways I like to do things, and these poor guys are in debt from frickin' going to school and all that, and here we are going to shoot stuff in the face, showing how you cook it, and you're like,
I feel like we kind of get a slight pass though. Maybe you'll think different because you get more comments on that kind of thing, but I feel like the hunters get a little bit of a pass on the wild game thing because I feel like that's such a different technique in its own to not mess that up,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so many different. What about Nutria? So how does that taste? Is that a good tasting thing?
Oh yes, that's what I forgot to say. So I had to turn the comments off on that video because they were just getting out of control, and it's got so many views that like I'm getting out of notifications, comments from a video I did 3 months ago that I don't care what, I don't care anymore, whatever. Like, you did well, and I don't care what you have to say about it. But, like, the vast majority of the comments eventually turned into, oh, my God, that's so gross. You're going to get the bubonic plague. Shit that I'm like, all right, it's what you wasted my time. But it's just rabbit, essentially. Like, the meat, when cooked, all it is the taste, quality, and consistency of rabbit.
Wow. That's awesome, man. One thing you may have tried, but if you haven't, I feel like this would be up your alley. Is over on we're from Illinois originally, and the Illinois Mississippi rivers in there. There's those Asian carp, and apparently those eat because their diet's different than a normal carp. Apparently their diet, like they eat like a cod or something, but they're just got such a bad name. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I watched videos on it, and the really it's nothing to do with the meat. It's like a garfish, right? Like the meat is good, but the cleaning process is probably double or triple the time of like a crappie, like a fish you really want to eat. So it's more so that like the bones that like, cause you have to like double cut the fillet off. In other words, you don't just do the in other words, the fillet is in between two sets of bones or something like that.
Oh,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gotcha.
So it's like you there's like a instead of 2 cuts, there's 4 cuts or whatever it is. And we have some of them. Like I've had them jump in the boat from time to time. There's certain places in Louisiana that has a lot of them. But yeah, that would be a cool. We tried shooting them with shotgun once. I don't know. Like,
get out there and
that'd be fun.
bow fish them.
No, we don't. You don't see them when you bow fish down here.
Oh,
You'll see the other carp. What's the other one? The grass carp or whatever. You see that one from time to time. But the Asian one, you don't really see it when you bow fish.
I gotcha. You were talking on your live the other day about getting into some is about gator season. When do you guys start gator? Or have you already? Or
it starts. It's weird. It's like the last Wednesday of August or something like that. So it's typically around August 31st or something, somewhere in that neighborhood. So the end of this month it'll start.
Yeah.
And then it goes for 2. It used to go just for 30 days, and now they go for 60 days. So
I gotcha. Florida is kind of, it comes in like, it might come in for like 30 or 60 days in August, September, and then I think it goes out, and I think it comes back in later in the year. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I wish they'd let us hunt them at night like you can in Florida. That's a good way to find a big one,
Man, that's so the way we've only done it one time, and we caught a 7.5 foot one, and because we were talking about on your live like the differences and the rules and how you can hunt them in Louisiana and Florida.
Yeah.
And at first we were trying to like harpoon them, like sneak up to them, or try to bow and arrow them, and which is legal, but it's just the odds of being successful with that are so
those
low.
big ones they're very weary,
For sure. And the way we ended up catching that 7.5 foot one was, which I know to like, that's not like a massive one by any means, but to us it's still like mind blowing, But
we were like about a bunch of kindergarten girls.
Yeah, we were.
I mean, we were. It was pretty intense for us because it was like our first like large reptile. It was cool.
It was really cool. And
they are cool. It's fun.
The way we caught that one is it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. So I think that we'd been out there all night, and the boat traffic and stuff had winded down for several hours, and that beef line man on the wood cork.
Yep.
On a fishing pole got him.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna do something like that this year. We do the trap lines,
Right.
And it's cool. It's fun because like you go on a like about this. So where I'm at, it's like 7:30. I think y'all are 8:30. But like you'd be out there right now, the sun's setting, you're drinking a beer, setting your trap lines. Then you go in the morning, you're almost always going to have at least one on there, so it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's different, but I feel like the rod and reel is way more sporty,
Mm-hmm.
Or shooting them with the rifle and the hook and all, like something that's just like really like a hunt,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we got, first we had to pull them in through all of these
lily pads,
and then we harpooned them and threw what do you call one of those balls out on them.
Oh, buoy, yeah.
The buoy, threw that buoy out on them. And then we finally got him in and used.
And then you could wrap him. You could probably tie him to the boat if you need to.
Yeah, and then we just used the bang stick and took him out pretty quick. So Drew made a perfect shot right square in the head. So it was cool. But you guys, you guys are down there. I think that Louisianans are a very unique group of individuals. I mean, you all, number one, have the coolest accent. Number one, you do. And you get into so many different things in the swamps and the bayous and all that stuff. And it blows my mind, honestly, because I come up, everybody grows up in a different part of the country, and I'm used to like the big woods, the Midwest, dry leaves, no wet leaves unless you're in a creek. Our partners at Huntwise are offering an exclusive discount for Zero Duck 30 followers. As an elite member, some of the features you'll immediately gain access to are HuntCast, Windcast, peak kill times, property lines, owner information and phone lookup, 250 map layers, unlimited offline maps, 3D maps, social media, and on top of it all, save up to 50% off some of the top hunting brands in the industry. Download and explore the #1 hunting tool set today and save 20% by using code DUCK30. No, I mean, and y'all are down there just like frogs. Frogs. I mean, y'all are out there and you make it happen. But here's one thing that's consistent. Like most of the good cooking videos I've watched are all folks from Louisiana. They are, man. Dude.
It's the French, dude. It's the French. So, like, you got to figure, man, like, back in France, they were ahead of their time on coming up with, like, cooking methods and all that. So then the French get here. Then they bring in African slaves, so they brought their thing in, right? Mm-hmm. So then it starts to blend and mix. Then the Spanish people come in. Then the Germans come in. So it's like everybody brought in a little bit of influence. And now everything we do today is influenced by all of their influence. You see what I'm saying? So, like, it just all got down here and started mixing together.
It's like having your best seasoning, man. I mean, just from every bit of different culture.
Yeah.
One thing that's cool in our day jobs, Tristan and I know this is totally off topic, Tristan, but we ran into that lady that she started a business, and the one thing that she did that said one thing we can all agree on, no matter where we are, what part of the country, whether we speak English, Spanish, whatever, is that we all enjoy food and we all enjoy music.
Yeah.
And she was bringing people together that way through those two arts. And I think that's one thing that's cool about y'all down there is that you guys make so many unique. Like first time I had jambalaya, I was like, what in the hell is this, dude? This is incredible. I sat there.
Yeah, see, that dish has a large African influence, that dish.
Dude, I sat there drunk as shit and just smashing that. I mean, just smashing it, dude.
Dude, if I could tell you how many country boys I seen get drunk as shit and eat a big bowl of jambalaya, if I had $1 for every time that happened, I could buy all of us a 6-pack of beer. Y'all get down there and y'all boys start getting tuned up, and we give y'all jambalaya. We friends for life, so I've seen this. I've seen it.
And I bet y'all, I bet y'all like you hear like a bunch of guys and say Illinois, like, come on over, bro, we're having crawfish boil. You guys are all laughing in your tuxedos. Sure, that's not even a crawfish boil. This is how you do a crawfish boil.
Oh, right. When you see posts from people from like the Midwest doing something like that, you're probably
you're like, you don't.
Man,
I
I personally don't get protective of like, oh, well, that's not the Cajun. I don't get protective of it because I don't like when people do that to me.
Right.
Like if I'm cooking something that's influenced by Mexican culture and influenced by Mexican food ways, I'm not saying that I'm doing it the traditional way. I'm not, it's what I know, what I grew up with your influence.
Yeah.
So I don't get mad when people boil crawfish and put this weird thing in it, and they're from, they're doing that in Oklahoma. That means we influenced them, but they did it, with who they are. You know what I'm saying? I think people get too bent out of shape about stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, look at pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Right.
I mean,
look at pizza. Couldn't have said that any better.
Yeah. I mean, you guarantee you got some guy on YouTube fighting another guy, thick crust versus thin crust, whatever.
Right.
No, but great point, Jared.
Man, one of the things that I've been so impressed with your stuff recently, Jared, is the reels and the TikToks and stuff you've been making about conservation, man. And for y'all that are listening, and Jared can go into more on this for sure, but he makes these videos that, it might be like a drone video of the marsh, and he's telling about how he's gone out to his family's property to plant these plants to help restore the marsh that's getting eroded by, the tide and, Mississippi and stuff. And I just think that's great stuff, Jared. And we're big on wanting to help conserve waterfowl habitat, but, all habitat. And I wanted you to kind of get into some of that stuff. And,
Yeah, that's really how my video career started, was making videos about Louisiana's wetland conservation issues, which we have many of. So just to put it in perspective, we've lost about a third of the coastal part of Louisiana. So since the levees went up in 27, up until 27, we were probably at the worst, we were at a standstill as far as like gaining new coast. Because there were some man-made levees, but so the river built really most of Louisiana has been built by the river depositing over the years. So when they put these big levees on the river in 27, it couldn't do that anymore. So let's just say, from 1927 on, we started losing land. We weren't building anymore, and we were just losing. Well, then like around the 40s or so, I can't be exact here, but they discovered that under all of these beautiful wetlands is oil. So how are we going to get to it? We're going to drill wells, put wells in. Well, then how do we get the oil out the well? Well, they started cutting pipelines. So they'd cut a straight canal to lay pipe from the well to get it inland, right? Well, they never went back and filled those canals. They just left them open. So you sliced and diced all of that beautiful, pristine marshland. Now your river can't go back and fix it. Now you sliced and diced it. And so salt water just started coming in and changing things. And then hurricane comes and boom, you lost a bunch. Another hurricane comes, boom, you lost a bunch. So we've lost an area the size of Delaware from, the west tip of Louisiana to the eastern tip. We've lost that much marshlands over, since 27. So that's a fight that we're fighting every day. And it's not looking good. It's not the kind of thing that we really have a handle on. We have ways to fix it, but it's like anything in politics that money gets kicked around and the can gets kicked down the road and the projects aren't being done. So that's my video career started talking about that subject. Identifying small projects that could be done, and then the oil spill happens, the BP oil spill, right? So it's like you already have this fragile, endangered wetland system. Now it's getting pounded with oil. So I started making videos about that. And that's really after that is when my hunting and fishing videos started. So the root of what I do is in those conservation issues. So all I did was, when I started outside the levees, start tying it in all together, which feels natural to me and it's what I care about. And I've luckily been able to have a sponsor in Ducks Unlimited who saw that and who, as this, has an actual mission of doing projects to fix that. So Ducks Unlimited, we raise whatever we raise here, through banquets and stuff, through membership, and then we get back, I don't know, quadruple that amount of money to put into projects here in Louisiana. Some of them, they try as often as possible to benefit public property, but sometimes it's for a private landowner too. One thing I should mention is that all this beautiful, pristine wetlands that I was talking about, most of it is privately owned. So it's not like it's all just owned by the state. So when you talk about restoring it and putting it back the way it was, there are private landowners involved, but that shouldn't make a difference because we still need it, and if you messed up these folks' property, you should put it back the way it was anyway. Sure. So anyway, that's where you're seeing the content. So, but I will be honest, I have to give props to TikTok. To people on TikTok, if you're listening, y'all really blew me away because I did not think that videos about wetlands conservation would get any views on TikTok, and it's probably my best view subject. If I made 2 of those a week, I think it would do well. I'm just hard headed.
Wow, man, yeah, I really love that stuff, and I think, didn't you say it's like a football field, 100 yards a day or something that's getting around?
No, it's much worse. It's a football field every 100 minutes. That's lost. When I first started doing this, it was every 30 minutes. So since I started doing this about 10, 15 years ago, there's been enough projects to slow it down. But it used to be 30 minutes. I think now it's 100.
Is there any major, outside of what you've been doing, Jared, are you working on anything, or is there any knowledge you have of anyone on a national level, really coming in there and going, hey guys, FEMA, somebody going, not necessarily FEMA, but an associate type federal agency that's U.S. Fish and Game, somebody that's going, hey, y'all, it's emergency flag time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been doing that for 30 years now. So the way it works politically is that The state has its own agency, CRPA, I think, so Coastal Restoration. I don't, but yeah, I believe it's called CRPA, and so that's the state's agency for studying this stuff and coming up with the projects that they want to do through scientific study. So they come up with like, here's what we want to do. It's like I don't know, $50 billion plan at this point, something ridiculous number. But unfortunately, who actually does the projects most of the time is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And that is the root of the problem, okay? So you have the Army, whose normal job it is to go to other places in the world and kill people for good reason or bad. But they're also the same people who are in charge of engineering our coast.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. And they have to look at things always from a different perspective. So for us, it's like, oh, well, there's a bunch of dirt in the river that y'all are digging up that dirt so that ships can pass through. That's the dirt that we need to fix all this. They're like, yeah, but it's much cheaper and easier. Just dig up that dirt, let it go back into the water column, and then wash out into the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So their objective there is just to maintain the river channel for navigation. It's not to maintain the river channel for navigation and fix the broken wetlands.
How that takes away habitat for shrimp and everything. I mean, I'm just my mind's spinning.
So yes, I mean, our
state
agency knows what to do. They know what they want to do. Now, can Congress give them the money? Well, that's part of the problem.
Yeah. So for people listening to this that, want to help, whether they're a resident of Louisiana or they're a resident of freaking Canada and they just want to help, what would you suggest for maybe both of those kind of people, Jared?
So, I mean, just Google Louisiana land loss. That's the best place to start. To see that I'm not just some dude, lying about all this, or that, everything I say about it is just backed up by science and stuff that I read from science. You'll see people on TikTok try to argue with me that it's all natural, or they say, and I'm like, dude, that's not you. I clearly don't know anything about this. Or if you're calling this a natural circumstance, it's not. I just told you 2 reasons why it's not natural. The Mississippi River is leveed, and we cut all these oil field canals through it. So it's not natural. This isn't what Mother Nature does.
Right.
So Google Louisiana land loss. Spend 10 minutes. You could spend 10 minutes on Wikipedia. You'll get the gist of what's going on. Look at what Ducks Unlimited's doing down here. The way that they're not waiting on the government. You see what I'm saying? Like, so Ducks Unlimited can identify a project, and they'll work sort of like work with the state government, but they can do projects using some government money, some DU money, and get stuff done. You see what I'm saying? And you're not tied up in studies for years and years and years and years. So that's important. If you ever do want to come down, book a fishing trip, and then book one day where you go plant some wetland grasses.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do, but I would say mostly just go read about it, so that when you'll start to see it more and more, and you'll know what people are talking about.
Right. Yeah, and I think that was actually the first video that really caught my eyes when you guys went out and were planting them, those coastal plants and stuff. I think. Yeah. So that was I know there was a state agency involved in that, a local, and then a couple local groups were involved in that. So that was just one of those things where, like, you don't have a lot of red tape. You just kind of like sign up and apply, and they come out, they survey the land, and they plant these plants, and, they kind of know which plants to plant, where to plant them. Yes, a hurricane could come and wipe them all out, but it would do that to everything anyway. So we planted those plants, I think, back in early May, and here we are, August. We haven't had a hurricane yet, so they're taking root. They're doing well. Cool. That's good, man. So are you getting out back to some, waterfowl type topics? Are you getting out after some early teal down there? I've heard Louisiana can be good.
Yeah, I've been able to get a place to hunt that is really good teal hunting. And last year I really drove at home. I think I made 6 hunts out of the 14, something like that. And every time I went, I made a video. I wound up releasing 5 total teal videos.
Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like morning wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order.
Yeah, so I did 5 teal videos last year, and each one went down in views as I released it. So I know now I don't need to make that many. I'll probably just make one, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make a few hunts. My schedule's a lot different this year with being full-time, YouTube with I'm kind of daddy daycare in the mornings, getting the kids to school. So there's no need, I'll probably make, I don't know, 5 or 6 hunts and make one video out of it. So yes, I'm excited about it, but it's not like in years past where I had a little bit more flexibility to go as often as I would like to.
Right. And with your videos, this is kind of something we talked about earlier, but I'm just curious, what do you edit your videos in? Like, what programs do you use?
Oh, I've been using Final Cut Pro, since 2008, I think.
Okay.
So I went from, it used to be Final Cut Pro 7, and then I changed to 10 in probably 2014. So I've been editing Final Cut 10 since 2014.
And do you know, I don't really know much about Final Cut Pro. I just know I use Adobe Premiere Pro. What have you heard positive things, one versus the other? Is there any preference there?
I will say this, the vast majority of editors now use Adobe, the Premiere Pro. It's got way better color correction capabilities. It ties in with After Effects. I think some people thought that like Final Cut Pro is a little bit limiting. So, but I'm just so comfortable on it. There's really no need for me personally to switch to Adobe, even though it may be a better system. But I would say for an amateur, you might be better for Final Cut.
Okay.
And then what the great thing about Final Cut is once you buy it, you bought it. I believe you have to pay a monthly on Premiere, right?
Yeah, you do. I think.
Yeah, that bugs me. I'm like, dude, come on.
I think you might be able to buy it annually too. I can't remember though, but.
Right, but it should be pay one price. Like it's a software. So in Final Cut, I bought it one time 7 years ago, whatever it is, and I don't have to buy it again.
Yeah,
I just get the updates.
That's a perk, and honestly, you brought up a good point. Like, as outdoor content kind of creators, like you're not making a 4K cinematic movie every time. You know what I mean? Like, as far as color correction and some of these perks and like your capabilities on transitions and stuff, like it's not like we're getting as in the weeds with that kind of stuff as maybe some other, music video editors type thing,
Right. Or even people who are making, the films, right? Like, yeah, they need, the best of the best. They need the best camera. They need the best editing. They're going to spend a lot of man hours on making those films. Well, I mean, we're cranking out TikTok and YouTube videos, so we just need to be able to do it quickly and efficiently and, at a cost that makes sense,
For sure. And, for people that are coming out to hunt Louisiana, we asked a similar question to Sean Weaver. He's a big Dakotas guy. And, we were kind of wanting to know what are the right way to go about, as an out-of-stater, what's the do's and don'ts that somebody coming to hunt waterfowl in the state of Louisiana?
Got it.
Go into some of that, Jared.
So I would personally probably book a guide in Venice. I don't think I would recommend bringing your own boat for your first trip because the problem is that time of year. So the Mississippi River is a monster by the time you get near the Gulf. Like, it's huge. It's deep. There's huge ships running the river. You get cold fronts, so you got a north wind making 2 to 3 foot waves or whatever it is.
Wow.
So I don't think an inexperienced Mississippi River boater should be out there without hiring someone. I don't. It is the best duck hunting in southeast Louisiana. It's really just something every duck hunter should experience Venice at least once in their lifetime. So I would say book a guided trip in Venice. If you're coming from the west side and you want to be in Louisiana, I don't know. Like, I know the rice fields are productive, but I don't know. I don't know if I know enough about it to really recommend doing that or not. You may be better off staying in Texas, the rice fields in Texas if you're coming from the west. But if you're coming from east, anywhere 8 hours of, Venice or 10 hours of Venice, just go to Venice, book a guide. That's what I would do. Now, if you do want to do it yourself, I'd probably not do it in Venice and do it here in St. Bernard, where I live. There's a big WMA called Biloxi Marsh. And it's the type of thing where it's, it's safe to boat. You'll want like a radio, bring a radio, because once you get out there, there's no cell service. Mm-hmm. But, you get out there, I'd go your first day, just go when daylight's breaking, go right around, get a lay of the land, try to find some ducks. You can hunt till, I believe, 2 p.m., something like that. Or, you know what? No, that rule's gone. So you double check it, but you should be able to hunt all day on Biloxi WMA. It's out of Hopedale, Louisiana, and it's open every day of the week. It's not a refuge, and I believe you can hunt, till legal shooting light. So I would, if you're doing to do it yourself, I probably wouldn't plan to do it yourself to Venice until you've been there with a professional and seen how that works.
How many acres are we talking about, that Biloxi WMA?
I think it's 30,000. It's huge.
Gracious.
It's enormous, dude.
That's massive.
It's enormous. And you can shoot your ducks and then just get right back to the boat and start fishing.
Wow.
Catch redfish and trout.
Wow.
Like
that's so many square miles of property. I mean, and like you said,
Oh, it's huge, dude.
Yeah.
Huge. Totally underutilized, too.
Wow.
You may have to do some boat riding to find you a little pack of ducks. It's not like, nobody's got ducks like they used to. Mm-hmm. But I, if you're doing a do-it-yourself, that's where I personally, if you want to do a do-it-yourself on the coast, that's where I would do it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Because you stay here in St. Bernard, where I live in St. Bernard Parish. We've got plenty of, camps. We call them camps. It's lodges on the water. We got plenty of lodging, amazing restaurants with all the New Orleans Creole style food. Like I said, it's public land. All the like everything's here. You have everything you need. You have marinas. Like I said, you bring a radio.
Can you introduce me to Brett Favre?
Dude, Brett Favre lives in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's Mississippi.
I was just trying. I mean,
Oh, Brett, I seen him one day in a Cracker Barrel though. I stopped at Cracker Barrel. I was driving to Tennessee to go turkey hunting. I go in there. Who's his name? Brett Favre. Wow. And dude, they were having some kind of meeting for Southern Miss, because like that's where he went to school at. Okay. So he was like lobbying some dude to like, I guess, sponsor something for Southern Miss, and he was talking about like the difference between a big school like Alabama. So like Alabama's weight room is already sponsored by the weight company. See what I'm saying? It's like,
wow, yeah.
Even though they're huge and big, they don't have to buy anything because it's all sponsored and donated anyway. So he's like, these small programs, and not only do we have to buy this stuff, but we don't have any sponsors. So you could tell he was like trying to work this dude for a big donation.
Yeah, man, shoot, that's the whole way out of left field here now, but the whole NIL.
Oh, I love doing that.
The NIL stuff, man, and we just haven't. It's not something we typically get to talk about too much. But I'm a big sports guy, and you hear like these little feuds between like Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, and it's kind of like the NIL thing is just making things so competitive, and I'm really interested to see how some of these smaller programs that don't get the funding, man, it's kind of tough,
Yeah, I know.
They don't have the boosters, on the back end. Like Texas, those schools with those oil companies, man, like they're gonna be able to pay guys.
Right.
Straight up.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, Texas football is about to get good.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Deion's doing at Jackson State. Just by using his persona and his connections.
Yeah, it was
building that little school up.
It was a huge deal when I think they got the number one recruit out of high school in the country flipped from FSU, which is where my fiance went to school. So got a little bit of FSU Georgia rivalry going on in our house.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, man, what do you got playing this hunting season that people can be on the lookout for and all that?
Well, like I said, I'm probably not going to do a lot of duck hunts. As much as I love to duck hunt, I'll probably, use that as a time. My son is, he's been hunting with me. This will be his third season, I think. He's 6, so he's been hunting with me since he was 3.5.
Heck yeah, man.
So this will be his third season. He doesn't know it yet, but he just got a new 410 in the mail. I got in the TriStar semi-automatic.
So
That's
most
awesome.
everyone's like, oh, my first gun was a crack barrel 410. Yeah, well, good for you, okay? Because what's going to happen is that duck's going to land on the water, and you're going to shoot it with a 410 shell, and you're going to cripple it, and then your daddy's going to have to be loading another shell where that poor duck is, trying to get away and all that. So I want him to be able to learn how to utilize follow-up shots quickly. So that's why I went with the semi-auto. And I'll just, have to stay there kind of with him and make sure that, But so I think my duck season is really just going to be about that, like letting him grow as a hunter, let him get, really get comfortable shooting. And I'm, what has always historically sucked for me was that the best fishing happens during hunting season. Like November and December, fishing in Louisiana is insane. Like, and it's close. You don't have to burn a lot of fuel. So now that I'm like, all right, well, y'all like the fishing boat videos better, I'll just go during the week, make a fishing video because that's my job now, and go on the weekend with my kid and go shoot some ducks. And if we get a video, great. If we don't, great.
Sounds like you need to start sea duck hunting more.
2 birds.
So
with
yeah,
one stone.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna probably do a lot more neutral hunts because obviously that's something the algorithm likes when I do.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do some more neutral hunting than the algorithm likes when I hog hunt, and I love to hog hunt. So I'm gonna hog hunt, and I think just try to put out as much content as possible. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
For sure.
Real quick, how big is like when you guys are shooting hogs down there? Like, what's a average size male hog down there? I'm just curious about size.
180.
180. Okay.
Yeah,
right,
I'd put
cool.
that as an average.
That's a pretty typical southern
It
hog.
sucks because I feel like that's the hog I see the most. That's not the hog I want. I want those little like 40, 50s.
Yep.
But if for whatever reason, I always see those boars the most.
Man, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jared, because I've only shot one hog in my life, and it was with my bow on some private property, and it was only about a 70 or 80 pound hog, and we smoked that thing, and you would have thought I bought it from the grocery store. Like, it had no gamey taste. It was top 3 best wild game.
Yeah, hogs don't have gamey taste. Maybe once you get to a boar, you might necessarily have gamey taste, but they get kind of tough. But I don't know where that, they just don't have any fat content.
I got
That's all. But I would say gamey taste, but maybe sometimes diet, but I've never found them to be very gamey. Deer meat's more gamey than hog.
Yep.
Wow.
Hey, get this. So this is a video y'all can look out for. So on our, so I'm really involved with coaching at our recreational park here by the house. So we have like in our parish, which is like we call a county a parish, right? So like it's in our county, or we call it parish. We probably have about 5 of these recreational parks, and we all play each other. Well, they just posted. We have a Facebook page for our park. This morning they posted a group of like 6 or 7 30-pound pigs eating under an oak tree at our freaking park, dude, at our park. So my freaking crazy ass is like, okay, we need money for the park to fix up our football fields. I'm going to set a trap. I'm catching these pigs. I'm going to film all this. Then I'm going to cook a big old smoked hog jambalaya and sell plates to raise money for the park. So y'all be on the lookout for that video.
Love that.
And if y'all feel motivated to donate to the park after doing that, then that's one to look out for coming up.
That's freaking awesome.
That's cool.
That I can't help but not think that's I can't not think
I was
that's
texting
gonna
the
do
guy
well.
right before I got on the phone with y'all. He's like, they just came out. I'm watching them.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, that's the ass, dude.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be sweet, dude.
I thought he was going to say it was going to be a bunch of little, what do you call it? The young kids baseball team. What do you call it? The little leaguers.
Yeah.
We're going to be running out there with baseball bats, beating the shit out of a bunch of pigs.
Oh gosh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, well, it's still, it's a public park, so we gotta
Keep it light.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
keep it real.
Well, good deal, man. Well, Jared, we want to respect your time, man, and we thank you so much for coming on the
Man,
podcast,
thank you.
brother. It was some great talking, and if we get out to Louisiana, we probably won't this year, but one of these years we'll have to. I'm getting married in November, so you know how that goes.
You did what?
Okay, let me all right, before everybody roast me, including Jared, hear me out.
He's getting married on the first week of the rut, by the way.
So
No, I'm just kidding.
we're getting married November 4th, and my dad and I always hunt Illinois the second week of November. So I was like, all right, well, we do the fall wedding, get it first week in November. And told her, I was like, look, we're going to do a little mini honeymoon, and I'm going to go deer hunt with my dad the week after, and then we'll do a major honeymoon, like a big one in March after, we get through duck season and everything. So everybody's been like on me about that, and I'm like, hear me out.
Yeah, but I think what it is the planning. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's normally when you would be planning duck season and getting everything prepped, and you're gonna have to be helping with that. So
for sure,
good luck with that. But hey, hopefully you only ever have to do it once. And
what they say, shit rolls downhill, right? So while he's doing all this stuff, I'm going to be double timing it.
Yeah, help her plan, dude. Don't assume she's like. That's one bit of advice I'll give you. Help her out, man. Don't make her do all the work. Like, ask her if she needs help and help her with all that, because they get really stressed out with it.
I will tell you guys this.
And if she tells you no, then at least you asked.
Yeah, cover your bases.
Well, I will tell you this about those two is that they're about the most robotic structured people you'll meet at that age, and they've got everything lined out, and they came to
good.
I think they even had a fire, had a like an Indian type of survival agreement about how everything was going to go, and they both just kind of locked arms about it. And Tristan said, "Hey, this is what I want," and Katie said, "This is what I want." And here in Georgia, it's a really beautiful time to have that.
Oh gosh!
And so that was important to her, and he respected that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, he said, "I'm going hunting."
Yeah, that's compromise right there, brother.
Yep.
Yeah.
But all right, Jared.
Man,
well,
thank
all
you,
right, boys.
Jared. We appreciate you so much, and man, keep up the great work. And I love watching. It's great.
Yeah, we're both big
Thanks.
fans, man, from top to bottom of what you do. And
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I ought to slow down, standing in the pouring rain.